Welcome to the Somatic Coaching Academy podcast. I'm Ani Anderson.
And I'm Brian Trzaskos. Join us as we explore the science
and art of trauma-sensitive somatic practices and tools.
Strengthen your practice as a coach, therapist, or holistic professional.
Master the art of motivating even the most challenging clients when you understand how to tap into and unlock your client's complete holistic intelligence.
If you want to learn the most cutting-edge, research-supported skills for personal and professional mastery, you've come to the right place. Let's get this conversation started.
Hi, and welcome to the Somatic Coaching Academy podcast. Hey there, Brian.
Yo, Ani.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm very good today. How are you?
Doing great.
We are on episode 54, and today we're talking about one of my favorite topics, money mindset.
Money mindset, specifically up-leveling money mindset for coaches, for therapists, and for wellness professionals.
I just want to clarify, this is one of my favorite topics, not because money is one of my favorite topics. I do know people that just love money.
Yep.
It's not that I love money so much as I love the empowerment that comes through conversations like this one, where we get to talk about transforming our lives. And since money touches so many aspects of our lives, like all the aspects of our lives in industrialized societies, it can be such a super powerfully transformative topic.
Yeah, really. Yeah. And certainly if people go back and listen to some of the really early podcasts that we've done, hopefully it would become apparent that the journey that we're talking with you about today, or I guess the topic that we're talking about with you today, we've been on that journey. We've spent a lot of time, and resources, and money on our own money mindset to really uncover and unravel some really deep-seated issues.
Deep stuff.
That aren't necessarily specific to us, by the way, that I think are endemic in the healthcare professionals and wellness world.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. And so that's why I'm really excited to talk about this too. But I want to let people know, go back and listen to some of our really podcasts, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe that first handful of podcasts, and you hear a little bit more about our journey that we have been on and went through, specifically around abundance thinking and money mindset stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And we tell people all the time, when you're part of the Somatic Coaching Academy community, especially once you take the certification programs, you're going to work on money mindset in some capacity. Now, listen, not everybody who comes into the certification programs thinks they want to work on that. Almost all the time it comes up anyway, is interesting, but we actually don't teach overtly about money mindset very often. But it comes up all the time through the course of us helping people to become these professionals who can have more clients that they're supporting, grow a business that they love, and do masterful work in the world that actually attracts people. You know? So it's a function of the soup that we swim in here. Wait a minute, we don't swim in soup. We swim in water. We can swim in soup if we want.
We like soup.
It's a function of the soup.
Well, I think what you're speaking to, Ani, is that money mindset, everything that you just said reflects the point that money mindset isn't actually a core issue. Money mindset is a superficial issue that has deep core roots to it. And the core roots can show up in a lot of different ways. For some people, the same core issue can show up in money mindset. Other people, it can show up in relationship stuff. Other people can show up in career stuff or health stuff. But it kind of all comes back to some really deep core threads. And for certain people, it just is persistent in money mindset. And especially in the health and wellness industry, we actually, in some ways, honor our lack of money mindset.
Absolutely. It's part of being in the club.
We wear it as a badge of honor. Right? And so we specifically find communities where we can wear that as a badge of honor, because everyone else is also, while at the same time, we're having trouble really living our richest and fullest lives because we're having trouble bringing in enough money.
Yeah.
So as we jump into our podcast today, as I was thinking about this podcast, Ani, I remembered something that we experienced many years ago when we were working with a business coach. And part of what we were wanting to do is to help health and wellness professionals to be able to break free of the system, have their own businesses,
Experience internal freedom.
right, internal freedom, like all these things, right? We really wanted to really be able to help people who had high value for helping other people create great things in the world. And I remember he specifically told us, he said, stop trying to work with health and wellness professionals because they have such terrible lack mindset. They're filled with lack mindset. So just stop it. You're never going to help them change. They're never going to want to pay the money. They're never going to want to do this and blah, 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 blah. And so obviously that didn't work for us because
like,
here we are.
What?
We love serving and helping people that are in health and wellness and love helping other people do things in the world. But here's the point that occurred to me is, hey folks, like we got a reputation.
What do you mean?
Like health and wellness professionals got a reputation.
Oh, yeah,
right.
You're right.
We have, so as a group, as a club, like
We'll hang out with those
rehabilitation
lackeys.
therapists, like PTs, OTs, like massage therapists,
energy
workers,
health
and wellness coaches.
Yeah.
Like, hey folks, like we have a rep. And the rep is that we are lack minded.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you going to sit there and stand for that?
Come on. Take that.
You're going to take it.
Yeah, seriously, there's a reputation in the professional coaching space, money mindset space, that we're like recalcitrant people. We're hard to help.
It's freaking so true. And you know, the one of the ways I think this shows up is all the people that want to barter with you. Hey, how often does that happen to you?
Mm-hmm.
People are like, oh, I'd want to, whatever it is, get healthier, help myself sleep better, lose weight, et cetera, whatever, get massages. Hey, why don't we barter?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it happens all the time. And it's a thing that a lot of health and wellness practitioners do on the regular. And then they'll come to people like us and say, I'm not making enough money to support myself. And one of the first questions I ask people is, how often are you bartering? It happens a lot.
Yeah.
So there's this expectation that we're just going to give it away.
Right. Yeah. So let's kind of start to noodle into this a little bit.
Let's noodle.
Let's noodle. So as much as we've worked with health and wellness professionals over the decades and our own journey as well, it's not, I don't think that health and wellness professionals, therapists, so that's who we're talking about. I'll just kind of say health and wellness professionals right now. We're all going to swim in this bucket together for the next 30 minutes or whatever we're on this podcast for. It's not that we don't want more money. It's not that we don't think money's not important, right? Or valuable, because we have houses to pay for. We have kids to feed. We have school to pay for, right? We have things that are
organic food we want to buy, and artists we
want to take care of ourselves. We want to buy supplements.
Yeah.
We want to
have our own health and wellness appointments.
Yeah, exactly. We want to go into nature once in a while and take a little vacation. Like, so all that stuff costs money. So it's not that we don't value money. That's not the point. Where I think really the issue is endemic in health and wellness professionals is low self-worth. I really think that's at the core, at the root of it. And so hear me out on this for a second. If someone has low self-worth, and by the way, it's self-worth. It's not like other worth. But when someone has low self-worth, or lower self-worth, and this is gradients and degrees, by the way, too, that, in terms of like a self-worth kind of scale, that what we'll tend to do is we'll tend to seek validation from other people to validate our self-worth. It's almost like we don't have enough self-worth and we're not giving it to ourselves. So we go seek it from other places. And what better place than healthcare to do that?
Why is that?
Well, because you have an endless supply of people whose lives you're impacting in very profound ways. You're literally saving people's lives, helping people walk again, helping people like get on and off of the toilet, helping people maybe get back to work. You're helping other people do things in their lives that are so critically important for them. And so the thankfulness that a health and wellness professional gets from their clients is usually, like, at least when I worked like in the hospital and I had my private practice, like people were thanking me all of the time.
High level of appreciation.
Lots of appreciation. So, oh my God, you're just gathering up all this worth that's coming from other people that are reflecting back to you your worth from their perspective. But if you have low self-worth, it's like an endless void.
Right.
The
It can never
appreciate
be
it can
filled.
never be filled, right? So it's almost like every day you're getting up and you're going to work not only to earn money, but to earn self-worth points.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go to work at hospitals and in healthcare and those types of things, where, by the way, like we used to have a saying, like nobody goes into allied healthcare to make money. Like nurses, therapists,
Same
like
thing with
nobody's going in
yoga
that to make money.
teachers and massage therapists
Right.
and
We say we're
healers.
going into that to make a difference. But
Exactly.
I think what's hiding behind that, and just hear me out for a second, is low levels of self-worth. So then we go to work and we're like, listen, it's okay that I'm not getting a pay raise that's equitable to like even standard of living pay raises, because I feel so grateful for being able to work with people, and I feel appreciated every day.
And I'm
So
making a big
and
difference.
making a big
My
difference.
work matters.
Right. So we're going every day and we're kind of getting fed,
Mhm.
like we're getting paid
Yeah.
by self-worth compliments, recognition, and appreciation. And we're not really placing that much value on, in other words, the financial remuneration we're getting for it is of less value to us than the appreciation and the recognition.
Right. So when we put energy out, energy is going to come back in. We put energy out, energy comes back in. That's the natural laws. The question is, what form is that energy taking when it comes back in? And so some of the form that it takes when it comes back in is money. Some of the form that it takes when it comes
Mhm.
back in is appreciation. And we can actually transmute the energy that we want to come back in so that we can actually bring in more money. And by the way, it doesn't mean that we're not going to get appreciation. As we've made more money in our business, we still get loads of
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
appreciation, by the way. But you can transmute how that money shows up. And I'm remembering a story with a client. She signed up with me for private coaching a number of years ago, and she was a healer person, and she wasn't making enough money in her business, and it was so hard for her to sign up because she barely had enough money. I'm sure it was on a credit card, but I don't remember, to work with me. And we had a call one time and we were having this conversation, but I make such a difference in people's lives every day. But she was crying when she got on the phone with me because she didn't have $20 to give her kid for pizza that day. Her kid needed $20 for pizza, and she didn't have $20 for pizza. And that's what you're talking about in terms of this low self-worth. Because if
Mm-hmm.
we had an elevated sense of self-worth, we would allow ourselves to make enough money to give our kids $20 for pizza and buy the organic food that we want, and enough money to be able to go on and do our own healing work and holistic work that we want to do. We'd have enough self-worth to be able to do that so that we could take care of ourselves in a thriving nature,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And also take care of other people.
Yeah, so that actually leads to another interesting kind of point that doesn't always feel good to kind of hear about or think about, but exactly that same situation, when we have that low self-worth and we're not bringing in enough money, it means then we have to make really hard choices, right?
Yeah.
And we have to sacrifice something. We
Yep.
have to sacrifice the thing that I wanted so I can give my kid $20 for pizza.
That's exactly what
So what
happened.
that does, that actually,
Exactly what
so
happened.
that's still fed by a low self-worth, right, from underneath.
Yeah.
But now it's a socially acceptable and even praiseworthy
Yes.
thing to do. That, listen,
100%.
I sacrifice for my kids. I sacrifice for my parents. I sacrifice for my neighbor. I sacrifice for my fill in the blank. That's a great way to get a lot of recognition and appreciation from other people.
Yeah.
Problem is, it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
It's none of it's sustainable. Eventually, people burn
Burn
out,
out.
they fall off a cliff, right? Then,
You
like you said,
self-esteem.
the natural order of things has to rebalance itself at some point. Law of polarity can't be out of balance that long.
Yep.
So eventually, you're going to have a rebalancing. And if this becomes really chronic and goes on for too long of a period of time, then the rebalancing can be really seismic for people if they can even recover from it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what was happening with this client. She was trying to figure out where she could sacrifice so she could get that $20 for pizza. And again, we're talking about money mindset. So watch yourself if that's where your mind
Mm.
starts to go with how do I decrease something over here
Mm-hmm.
so that I can give more over here, when that's not how you have to think about it. One of the key things that we did with this client was help her actually to repackage how she was offering her services. So she was offering her services in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to love this from your self-worth thing. um she was a master at some of the things that she was doing, but she wasn't actually putting herself out as an expert. She was putting herself
Mm-hmm.
out as a healer, but she actually started to teach other people the healing methods that
Mm-hmm.
she so expertly knew. It didn't even occur to her. People were even asking her to do it, but it didn't even occur to her. And her low self-worth couldn't allow her to see it. And see, that's the interesting thing, because our subconscious mind is telling us, our conscious mind, how to think. Our subconscious mind is telling our conscious mind how to think. And so
Mm-hmm.
consciously we think that I've got to go figure out how I can spend 20 less dollars at the grocery store so I can give my kid $20 for pizza. Like the subconscious mind and our
Mm-hmm.
programs are telling us how to think about that. We actually have to rewire and reprogram our nervous system so that our subconscious mind is telling us different things. And we can do that through the process of uh, our reprogramming our self-worth.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. And a key feature of that too, right, is our subconscious. Oftentimes we've been taught from a long period of time that money is a finite resource,
Yeah.
right? We only have so much of it. There's only so much money. So then we have to rob from Peter to pay Paul sort of thing. But the thing is that that's not true. Money is an infinite resource. It's literally, there's money everywhere. If you just go out, just look around, go out and drive down any major city in the country,
Yeah. There's
and you'll see
so
money
much money,
everywhere.
and they just keep
It
making it.
just keep making it, right? It just keeps showing up. So there's plenty of money everywhere. So money is not a finite resource. But when we have lower self-worth, we'll convince ourselves that it is a finite resource because we don't have the self-worth to go out and create opportunities to bring more money in, because then that actually invalidate the program of our self-worth, of our low self-worth,
Right.
right?
Right. The low self-worth program for my client was telling her that she was going to have to go out and wrestle people to the ground to pay her more so that she could, have a few extra bucks, rather than, it was really obvious to me she just needed to repackage how she was serving her
Mm-hmm.
clients and elevate some things about her business that, by the way, we see. I would venture a guess probably 90% of our certification program students come in and they have ways to elevate themselves as experts professionally that don't even occur to them, that we can very easily
Yeah.
see.
Mm-hmm.
It's so obvious. And what you said, I think, was so powerful, because it's not about wrestling people to the ground so you can have more money. And it's not about even like raising your rates. Yes, it's about raising your rates, but sometimes, but it's not even about that. It's about that self-worth. It's about being able to create, like you said, opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
We get the chance to be creators. We get the chance to be creative and create opportunity. And that's a very different mindset than the lack mindset that a lot of people are coming from. We get the chance to create
Yeah.
opportunities all the time.
Which are
That is so
plentiful.
plentiful. And they're win win win.
Yeah.
So they're great for me. They're great for my clients. They're great for everybody in my clients' lives. They're great for our team. They're win 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 opportunities.
Yeah.
Why would we not want to be in that place where we get to create and have that kind of like awesome fun?
Yeah. Yeah. So as we're moving through this conversation, I just actually want to do a little plug for a past podcast that we did too that also kind of segues into this. Is the podcast number 33 we did on self-esteem and income. So you can actually go back and listen to some of the statistics around how much people are losing in income over the course of their life from having less self-esteem than other people. And this is, it's this research that was done on this sort of thing. So far, let's just kind of summarize where we are, where we've been, so we can just kind of keep going a little bit further here to talk about up-leveling self-esteem. So far we talked about self-worth, right? This is a core issue for people. When we have low self-worth, or we've been programmed with self-worth, we're actually going to look for situations, in this case, professional situations, in order to revalidate the low self-worth. So we're not only working for a little bit of money, we're actually working for recognition from the outside. So how do we up level our money mindset? It's not really about working on the money mindset specifically so much, because for someone with, if you try to work on money mindset and you don't elevate self-worth, you're really going to go nowhere. And
Well,
a lot of people try to do the work there, but it doesn't change anything, because that's the core of the money mindset issue, is the self-worth.
it's actually crazy to watch because people sometimes will bring in more money and grow things, but they grow equal proportion to the problems.
Mhm.
And they're still having the same, like you said, core issues. So they still have issues. I remember working with a client who was not trying to go the somatic approach. And so we weren't really going from a core perspective. And she ended up making more money, but she was still dragging around the same old problems. And then the ups and the downs in the money, and it was really challenging for her. So core work is so important.
So important. It's so important. So we don't have like this podcast isn't going to solve all self-worth issues,
solve all
right?
problems.
Because I mean, that's what we do in our coaching training programs, right? We really have people get into the chorus stuff.
This stuff, you actually have to do this.
It's a process, right? You got to go through it. But let's just do a couple of tips here really quick.
Hot tips.
Hot tips. So here's the thing. It's self-worth, not other worth. So what that tells me is that we're never going to fully grow our self-worth by 100% depending on other people to feed us.
Are we, Brian?
Right? So that's why it's so hard when you're working in a job or professional situation where we're going to work and specifically to get appreciation without realizing that's what you're doing, sort of thing. Then you never are filling up your own bucket. You're always depending on other people to fill it for you.
Yeah. So one of the things you can watch out for is how often you judge other people for being selfish or self-centered or conceited or those kinds of things, because that can be a cue that you've got some stuff going on for you.
Yeah.
For sure. Another one that I think is interesting. I'm like hesitating here. Do I say it? But it's interesting. When you're more willing to ask people for a handout, a grant, a freebie, a thing like that, rather than go ask somebody for reimbursement when you add value.
Yeah, for an opportunity to add value, right?
For an opportunity to add value. It really comes up all the time, so I want to mention it.
Yep. Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah. It's a good one. It's a really important one. So we really need a combination here when we're growing self-worth of both self-appreciation and other appreciation. Because as we're building self-worth, we can't just flip a switch and go say, well, listen, I'm not going to pay attention to anything that anybody else appreciates me for or is grateful for. I'm going to shut that off completely. I'm just going to try to do it myself. That doesn't work either. Because that's not how that part of our, well, and that's not how a part of our subconscious was programmed to begin with, right? When we were kids, our level of self-worth was primarily predicated on getting that from other people.
Right.
And then that kind of sets a set point for us of self-worth as we go through life. So if we didn't get a lot of that, of appreciation and recognition and support and empowerment when we were younger, again, it sets a threshold. It means that now we never learned how to do it for ourselves. We never taught how to do it for ourselves. So we're always seeking it from other people. And that becomes a drain on other people, by the way. It can be a huge stress point for relationships, which is why we go into healthcare to do it, because everyone's just happily grateful, right? It's kind of thing. See how it's how it kind of works this way? So true. So we don't want to cut it off from other people, because in some ways we have to retrain ourselves. And so we want to be able to receive it from other people, but at the same time, we have to really be able to recognize and appreciate ourselves to grow our own value. And that can be done, has to be done actually a couple of ways. It has to be done both in an embodied sense and also in a intellectual sense.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people try to do mantras and stuff to grow their self-worth. There's that old, the Stuart Smalley, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and
doggone it, people like me.
From Saturday Night Live. And so mantras or affirmations are important, but if you've got a subconscious threshold of a certain self-worth, those mantras or affirmations will not penetrate down somatically. So you have to work on the somatic embodiment level too.
Yeah. And it's the feelings we feel that make our realities seem real. So for example, we're out there and we decide we're going to, challenge and transmute how money flows through us. And all of a sudden we feel guilty or we feel ashamed of ourselves or fearful or whatever. Those embodied sensations, they'll get us to get off track unless we know how to work with that as well.
Yeah. So one of the things I'm proudest about, Ani, with our training program is by the time people are done going through level 1, 2, and 3 with us, Somatic Coach Pro training, every one of our students, and I can say every one of our students absolutely has an improvement to some degree of their self-worth.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we get different results based on lots of different factors in terms of making money and money mindset. But since everyone's self-worth improves, everyone's money mindset improves to a certain degree, right? And some people way more than other people, but that's just people, right? But everybody has an improvement. And we're not specifically, again, working on money mindset. We're really working on developing people's core expression.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Because we do work with core wounding and helping people to come from a place of core expression rather than core wounding as a general function of what we do with the content of the program.
Yeah. So if there's any kind of shortcut here to up-leveling your money mindset, it's really up-leveling your self-worth.
Yeah.
That's it. Do work in your self-worth zone by the things that we've talked about, that we've mentioned. One of those things is adding value to other people's lives and making a request to have that be compensated in a way that fills up your self-worth.
I'm just admiring your self-worth growth by being able to have that conversation where you can talk about the kinds of results that we get with our students.
Yeah.
Right? It takes a certain level of self-worth to be able to do that.
Sure.
So good job, Brian.
Thanks, Ani. So yeah, both of us have, again, been through this trajectory. I've told my story in lots of other places, but I didn't have a lot of self-worth, in my early life, much of my life, and through the processes that now we teach our students, like I've had amazing changes in my personal life that I'm really excited about and I'm able to share now, which I was never able to do before, which is super exciting.
It's super exciting. And that's what's possible for you too. It's one of the reasons I love coaching so much, is because we get inspired, we hear things that are inspiring. And then as coaches, we get to say, that's possible for you too. So if you're listening to this episode and it sparks something for you, it's possible for you too. So we ask you to go and wherever you're listening to this podcast, give us a thumbs up, give us a subscribe, give us some stars, give us some a review, let people know, share it with a friend. I'm just modeling that, asking for reciprocity kind of idea, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And come on over to the Somatic Coaching Academy and check out we do have free demos that happen almost monthly. And we also have classes, public classes that specifically support and work on self-worth. Okay, so they're there.
The public classes have been really fun. And for those of you who have come, thank you for coming. It's such a wonderful way to be in community together and to do some fun work together, even when you're not joining the certification program. So we're hosting public classes at least once a month now. You can go over to the website and check on our live events and find out when they're happening and come on over and join us.
Yep, please do.
And until we see you there, we will see you next week on the Somatic Coaching Academy podcast.
Thanks so much.
Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this episode. We hope that this conversation will help you improve your practice and change the way you think about your work, your clients, and yourself.
Continue your exploration of trauma-sensitive somatic coaching by listening to more podcast episodes at somaticcoachingacademy.com. You could be the trusted guide that people turn to help them with their most challenging situations and to reach their most precious goals. Thank you for joining us.
We'll see you next time.